Spinning. All right. Hi, everybody, and good morning. Welcome to Eye Openers. I hope you have something that is going to help you be bright and cheery this morning. Good. Zach's got his too. So we are hosting Zach Kenney today, who is the owner and founder of ZK Painting. Thanks so much for coming on, Zach.
Thanks for having me.
So we today are going to talk a little bit about what you're drinking and what gets your eyes open in the morning. But most importantly, we're going to dive into what are the eye openers you've had over the course of running your business that has literally changed the way that you thought about business or you thought about leadership and has made a big difference in your life. But let's start out with something small just to warm you up, right? So tell me about what are you drinking? What's your coffee of choice?
My coffee of choice is from Coffee Exchange, the iced coffee, but they are not selling it because of the pause. So I have to resort to a Starbucks cold brew with a splash of whole milk.
Okay.
And this is my second. I drink a lot of coffee. So I already had one of these, and this is my second one.
Oh my gosh, you're my kind of people. Wow. Okay. I grew up on Starbucks. I'm from Pacific Northwest, and I feel like by the time I was 20 years old, I probably already had like a small ulcer in my stomach or something because it is strong stuff. So I'm very impressed. Like I'm impressed in the way that somebody who can drink like a ton of like whiskey would be impressed. This is my jam. So very cool. For me, in the winter, I do prefer a hot coffee. I just like need that little thing to warm me up or just feels so good. But have you ever tried Rebelle's iced coffee, the nitro?
No, where's Rebelle's?
So Zach and I live near each other in Providence, for those of you who are not sure what the heck we're talking about and why we're talking about coffee on LinkedIn or whatever platform you're seeing this. Rebelle they're on Doyle. So on your way from like deep east side to the Whole Foods on University Heights. And it's this awesome little breakfast place. You should totally go. But their iced coffee is like, I can't have anything else. It is amazing. So I recommend that. So Merry Christmas. There's your Christmas gift.
Beautiful.
Try that coffee. So I want to ask, I don't know much about your business, but I'm so excited to have someone from the trades here today. My father is in construction, and I grew up as a kid watching him do his business and, watching him work too hard and miss too much stuff and the things he really loved to do. And so I'm so excited to have you here and hear how ways that you've overcome that. And let's start out with the very beginnings. What inspired you to start ZK Painting, and what year was that?
So I called it ZK Painting, but really I started working for myself, painting for friends and people that I knew. It was not very formal, but I pretended I wanted to look as professional as possible. But it was a very sort of out of necessity kind of thing. I moved home to be with family. I had painting skills. People need some painting done. And it sort of started like that. I had a little giant ladder, a Ford Taurus, and a box of paintbrushes.
Nice.
And, it was more out of necessity. I really enjoy painting. I always have. It's very satisfying. But it was not some grand plan.
Okay. But sometimes that's how we find our spot in the market, right? Like people are coming to you saying, can you solve this problem, right? And there you were, ready to solve that problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes it finds us. And so I love that you described those beginnings, though, because I feel like so many people have this idea that it needs to be this polished thing. It needs to look like this big, grand business. But really, behind the scenes, it's kind of a shit show, right?
Oh, yeah.
At least, yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely, I'm the king of that. We built faking it till you make it. That's been my thing. I came from nothing, had nothing. And so we needed to look more professional than we really were. So we looked professional to our clients, and we performed amazing work, but everything behind the curtain to this day, that's what this next year is all about, is really getting that to the level that everything else is.
Mm-hmm. So I hear a huge focus on craftsmanship. Tell me, why is that so important for you? Oh, I
For, I
just
mean,
want to say hi to Tim. Tim's joining us, also a big leadership expert. Thanks so much for being here, Tim. So excited to hear your comments and your feedback below. So sorry, Zach, go ahead.
I think the craftsmanship focus for me is I wouldn't continue to be in the painting industry if I was just doing like just basic stuff that, commoditized type of painting. Um,
Right.
I don't like being a commodity. That's not my business. It's a whole nother model, and there's not many people who do it well. Most people in my industry are doing it out of necessity. They're just competing on price. They're providing pretty much the same things, and it's real hard, right? When you have that much competition, it's like whoever's willing to work for the lowest paycheck wins.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right
so
to the
we
bottom.
focused on craftsmanship because it's the opposite side. Everyone's going price, 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 and I'm going quality, 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 customer service experience, like the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And we can then command a price and be more profitable that way.
Hmm. So would you say that was your first kind of eye opener for business, that you didn't need to be in this race to the bottom, but that there was a race that was better for you, that you could win or at least get way ahead in, which is if you focused on the quality, focused on the customer's experience with working with you, that is what puts you above other people, other companies?
Yeah. The problem with growing up in the trade, like if you work in the trades and starting your own company, it's like the standards in our industry are really, really low. And so oftentimes you end up just doing what your bosses were doing and maybe like tweaking a couple things,
Mm-hmm.
which just means that you end up with still very unprofessional company by general business standards.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to really think outside the box and continue to have to push what our company's doing to be more like all the rest of the businesses in the world and not like the companies that are in my market or that I had worked for in the past.
Right, right. And Tim's agreeing, saying loves the focus on differentiation. So that brings me actually to my next question, which is what's the most valuable thing you learned from a former mentor or boss?
Um, let's see. I have a couple great ones. An amazing mentor slash coach, if you will, and he's taught me. He always likes to say, "What does good look like?" So we're trying to, because especially in my business, like it's a very subjective thing. Like, does that paint job look good? Well, that what's your point of view coming from? What did you expect it to look like? There's so many things that go into a subjective thing like that. So he likes to say, what does good look like? And so we have to understand what's our client's like threshold of happiness and how do we just exceed it by a little bit. And I have a tendency to want to exceed it. I used to work to feed my ego, and it was like, here's a paint job that I am so proud of. This is the best paint job in the world. Well, if the client doesn't want that and only wanted to pay for 50% of that, and you gave them 100, you just ate a bunch of profit. And so I've shifted to work for people who want really, really nice things generally, but still
Hmm.
it's that idea of what does good look like, and let's make people happy, and like let's get our happiness from clients being happy and not me standing there going, oh, that paint job looks so good.
Yeah. But I hear that you've come at that from both angles. So it's not so much that you've compromised on what you know is the best quality, but you've done your messaging and branding and whatnot, or marketing, so that you're pulling in clients who also appreciate that quality of craftsmanship that's so important to ZK painting.
Yeah, I think it's important in business to like harness your biology, whatever it is that makes you tick. Like I love the details. I love putting out high quality work. I'm a snob. I like nice things. So it was natural for me to go move to the high end market where we work for unbelievable clients with unbelievable budgets on crazy projects, because that fits like who I am. And then I've built a company around that. And
Mm.
it's so much easier to do that than when you're fighting your biology every day.
Oh, what a really great point. I've never heard it put that way before, but just going with your biology, I love that. Yeah. I often use the analogy of like salmon swimming upstream, right? And like, why are we doing that? Like when you can just follow with what's natural to you. So very good point. So tell me about a pivotal insight or breakthrough that changed the way you lead in your business or think about your business?
So the way I lead, I would say, again, there's a big lack of skilled young people in the trades right now. It's really hard to find employees. That's a nationwide thing, and not just painting, but all trades and lots of businesses. And so I realized if I was going to employ people and have great people, and which is I sell labor hours, like I need great people. I was going to have to do things differently than my bosses had done to me, right? The painting companies I'd grown up in, where it was pretty rough. It was like some screaming, some yelling, some very like, go do this thing and shut up. Like that mentality was not going to work. And so I just realized, it was going to be, how do I create an environment and attract the type of people that I want? Well, I have to change me. I can't go, all these kids, they're this way, the millennials. Oh man. Like I could say that. And I've heard hundreds of contractors say that, but
they say it in business too.
I can control me. I can't control all them. So instead I've decided to, I've looked toward the tech industry, where obviously there's a huge demand for skilled people and not a lot of them. And, they have pool tables and ping pong tables, and they take naps at work, and those guys know what they're doing. So clearly they understand that, you have to bring a softer environment, and we have to explain to our team like why we're doing what we're doing, right? I can't just say, go do it. They need to understand the context. They need to have, but we need to get that buy-in. So as I looked at the younger generation, I understand that I need to change the way I manage and the way I built my company to attract and retain those type of top talent, and not just say, oh, the way I grew. I like to say it's like trauma passed down. Like most of the guys that are in the trades that have businesses, like we were the ones who survived the traumatic environments and somehow could handle it and didn't just quit. We probably had bad childhoods, and we could handle people yelling at us in ways that like normal people would be like, no, I'm leaving. So a lot of times we want to pass that trauma down, saying like, well, I lived through this and look at where I got. So they should, and it's like, no, man, like it's got to stop someplace. If we want to bring in these like new people and have this be a positive thing for people to come do, I have to change.
I love it. So we got some good questions coming in, and I want to highlight Dan's question, but also say hi to Rebecca. Thanks guys for joining us. Got some really smart, fun people on the line. So it's great. So Dan says, how do you identify your ideal client today versus before, when you weren't as focused on clients who want high quality, and what did you change?
Yeah. So I think I spend a lot of time thinking about this little circle. The inside of it are all my ideal clients, and everyone, like just on the outside of that circle, they want you to open your circle up to them, right? That everyone comes to you and they want you to, and I've learned to keep I've very clear boundaries. I know exactly what we do well. And I spend a lot of time thinking for my ideal client. Who is my ideal client? Someone who cares about quality, who price is not their top determining factor. It's more of a consequence of I want this thing, and I want it to be a positive experience, and I want to know it's going to get done and not take a gamble. So as I've refined my ideal client, it helped and then stuck to it, because too many times someone will come and they'll be right there on the edge. They'll have some of the qualities of your ideal client, some of them not, and you'll expand your services to meet them, and then magically it'll all come crashing down, and you'll look back and go, man, I wish I would have just stuck to my guns. So I think it's understanding where our competitive advantages are. I love that book, Understanding Michael Porter. It's been a huge influence on my life, really understanding what competitive advantage is, building it into my model, and really focusing on what makes us special, and adding value in a way that other people can't compete with tomorrow.
So what's the name of the book again, Zach?
It's called Understanding Michael Porter.
Understanding Michael Porter. Okay, cool. Thank you. Sounds like a good read we can definitely all check out, because that is true for every industry, right? No matter where you're working, that differentiation is what makes a huge difference, right? Cool. So there's this really pivotal place in everyone's saying pivot, there's this really like key inflection point where we have an initial understanding that like hard work is going to get us somewhere, right? And you grind and you grind and you grind, and then you start to have these insights, right? Like, hey, this, maybe there's a different way, maybe there's a better way, maybe there's a more professionalized approach, maybe I don't have to be doing all these things that I'm doing, which is kind of like busy work sometimes. So what was that point where it usually comes when we're ready to hire our first few employees? Was there a moment where you kind of had an insight around systems or infrastructure for your business? Because you spoke about changing how you showed up in your business in order to attract the right kind of employees. But was there a back end, the back of house in your business where you saw, oh, this has to be different? Because I see so many people running themselves into the ground from an hours perspective, and they don't see how to get out of that trap.
Yeah. So first of all, I when you first start, yeah, like hours are cheap, and you throw hours at things, and when it's like, oh, we'll just put more hours at it. But once you start to have employees and you realize like you're going to pay somebody to go do that, like you can't just throw hours at things anymore. It starts to cost actual money, not just my time. And so I had to slowly transition to like, let's be smarter about this. I can't just throw hours at stuff. But yeah, I think I'm trying to limit I work really hard to limit my hours. Like people think I do a lot of things, and people think I work so many hours and it's like kind of embarrassing, but I really don't. But I think what pain is what really creates change most of the time. And so often, I mean, I've made millions of mistakes. I constantly try things and constantly make mistakes, and it informs me for the next time. So I think it's really like doing a lot, trying a lot of things, getting negative feedback, and changing the course a little bit. To me, there's nothing more valuable than that. So I've had lots of negative experiences where like what works at a 2 or 3 person company does not work at a 10-person company, right? When I'm on job sites and I'm working with 2 or 3 guys, like I talk to them every single day. I don't need systems for communication. I'm just there. Well, once I leave the job site, now I need to start to build systems on how we even communicate, because it's not an organic thing anymore. And there's so many things like that you don't recognize until it happens. I mean, some people, if you're really lucky, you can see it ahead of time. But I happen to be someone that needs to, oftentimes I need to feel the pain and then adapt.
Okay. Good. That's fair. And I think that's so honest. So I really appreciate your candidness, because I think people often feel, or in my experience, when I work with entrepreneurs, I hear, oh, I feel like I'm failing because that happened, or I made that mistake, or I'm feeling all that pain. But lots of times it's the message that you're so close, you're right there to making that key shift that is going to change the way that you operate in your business, which will therefore change that pressure on your time and what you're able to create. So
I like to say, like my coach always says, like the business owner's job is to eat problems for breakfast. Like that is such an important mentality shift, right? I used to say that, because I only get the phone calls when things go bad. And so you start to be like, I'm running a horrible organization. I don't know what I'm doing. All I do is get phone calls with problems. But when you can shift your mindset to like, my job is only to fix problems. They don't call me when things go well. It makes it less, it doesn't hurt me as much to have all those phone calls. It becomes like, this is my job. I get psyched up every day to go fix problems. And so when problems come in, it's natural, instead of, oh, I'm a bad person because there's problems, which still happens, but I try to shift the mindset.
Right. That's awesome. Thanks for that reminder. We've got some really great question stuff going on in the comments. So Tim's asking, Zach, did you find it hard to say no to that client that was not in your circle? So bringing us back to that story.
Oh, it's insanely hard. I'm a people pleaser at heart. And so, yeah, it's taken years to be able to say no. It's taken lots of pain, it happened to me this year. I had 2 jobs that I should have taken. But all I can do now is like, okay, what were the red flags in the sales process that I ignored? Because without a doubt, there are always red flags you ignore, right? People don't just magically change the second you sign a contract. So it's really just been like trying things, listening, and going, oh, I should have said no. Oh, I should have said no to that. Like, remember that feeling I had? Now it's my gut. Like, I can feel it in my stomach, in my vagus nerve. Like, it's there.
Yeah.
But I think it really takes the data points of like trying, failing to go. And some people can just say no much more easily. I think the Bill Gates of the world, the super analytical people can just be like, is it a 1 or is it a 0? But for, I think, most of us, it does just take lots of trial and error.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, because I think it's hard to ignore what we're talking about, right? Which is the money on the table. Think about how much effort goes into getting a customer to come to you, being so excited about working with you. And now your job, like they think they want the thing that you're offering, right? And so many of these things have like aligned to get to this point. And now your job is to say like, no, thank you. I don't want that $30,000 or whatever. Like,
I always say it's like the shiny object on the other side of the red flags. And you just like ignore all the red flags because there's this like big shiny object over there.
Right, right. I actually started making a spreadsheet for myself because I'm a huge data nerd. And I know how emotional the sales process can be. And so I actually have like a sheet of examples of the times where I have deeply regretted my decisions. And before I will send something out, I will look. I have like a sheet that's gone really well, a sheet that has not gone well. And I look for the attributes and try to measure against myself and control for some of that emotional aspect of it. So thanks for sharing your process. I have one last question because this has been so fun. You're so good at this. So what's next for you? What are you focusing on? What's your next greatest opportunity in front of you?
So I started a organization. It's called ZK Finishing School. It's like a painting school for contractors. Mm-hmm. People come from all over the country, and we train them up. And that's a huge opportunity that, like, just because of my social media following, just sort of happened organically, and it's been really easy, and it's very profitable, and it's very fulfilling. And so we're just scratching the surface of that. And then, the painting company, we're going to stay at, about 8 to 9 painters this year. We're not going to grow numbers wise, and we're going to really focus on the behind the scenes this year. It's time to get the other side of the curtain to look as good as what's outward facing, really. So I'm super excited about the future, and I have a great team of people around me, and social media makes it all happen.
Awesome. So that brings me to the last part, which is how can people find you? Because you do have an awesome social media, and I want people to be able to check it out.
Yeah, Instagram is really the key place. ZK Painting on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Everything we do there, you'll see my face many times a day, many days a week. My face will be on there talking about what we're up to. And of course, you could follow us on TikTok if you want to see satisfying videos.
Awesome. Well, we'll post that in the comments below, so people can find you. But yes, I have to vouch for you. Like, I particularly am not that into painting. I mean, when something needs to be painted, like, okay, but I do totally enjoy your Instagram. It is fun. It's entertaining, and also educational for those people who are into that element of it. So thank you so much for being here, Zach. It is always a pleasure to speak with you. Always lots of light bulbs happening and some good laughs. So I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
All right. You stay on with me for a second. But thanks so much, everybody who joined us today. And if you are catching us later, you can still write some comments and we will get back to you and get you those answers. So thanks again, everyone.